Will I ever quit retro game collecting? I'll give you the short answer, then I want to really hone in and talk to you guys about things that have been bugging me recently. The short answer is no, but something on the channel is definitely going to end, and that is the £5 retro game challenge, and I'm going to talk to you guys about why. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I've seen a lot of, I guess, prominent YouTubers actually giving up retro game collecting completely. Let's address that. First thing I want to mention are prices. Over the last 2 months, so since the start of the year essentially, I have done so many retro game hunts at retro game stores, retro game markets, CEX, so your high street video game stores that still sell retro. And I mentioned in a previous episode about how expensive some of the cartridge-based titles at CEX in particular are getting. I will link that episode for you to go and have a look as I show some examples between sold listings on eBay versus CEX, and what it showed in conclusion was that CEX tended to benchmark from eBay sold listings, which is obviously eBay are notoriously high in prices because there's the cost of doing business, postage, you know, taking the pictures, your listing fee, etc. And obviously attending retro gaming markets, they always tend to have a ridiculous prices compared to retro game shops. I'm definitely in favour of going into a local retro game shop because I think that's where your prices are most reasonable. You can feel and kind of get a vibe for the family business. Sometimes there's room for negotiation, and you can also trade as well. So at the retro gaming markets, I saw a copy of Mega Man 7 on the Super Nintendo for £800, which is ridiculous. You think of what you can do with £800 these days, and you can do a hell of a lot. Now, I've also compared in my own time, I've been doing retro game hunting for years, and I've looked at my retro game hunts from 2018 and 2019, and I'll use the example of Snatcher, for example. I put Snatcher in the thumbnail, I think it was in 2018 at the Doncaster Gaming Market, and I thought the price of £275, it was either £275 or £295 for a copy of Snatcher, and at that time I thought it was ridiculously expensive. Now, in the December Doncaster Gaming Market, so the back end of 2021, the same game was £450. Now, that doesn't reflect the rate of inflation. If we were taking this down, because a lot of people say retro gaming's too expensive and priced out. Stop it. Let's have a little bit of substance to what you're actually saying here. The rate of inflation is average between kind of 3 and 4% a year. You know, going from 275 to 450 is well above the rate of inflation for that amount of said year, so 2018 to 2021. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I understand for some people they're perturbed by high prices, and yeah, you're quite right, as you guys said in some of the comments in the CEX episode I did recently. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And I think that's what's leading people to wanting to quit this hobby completely. Now, for me, I love it far too much, but I will say this, it is becoming harder and harder to retro game hunt. That's why on this channel, this is a big thing here, really important point, the death of the charity shop or the thrift store retro game hunting. Now, rewind to maybe 10 years ago, you could walk in a charity shop, 2011, 2012, you could pick up a Super Nintendo for cheap prices. Nowadays, you go into charity shops and you find FIFAs, you find the most common PlayStation 2 and Xbox games there are, and that is because, not because charity shops aren't getting the stock in. What's happening is that the charity shops are taking the consumer out of the store for video games and they're putting it online. They've got a lot of eBay stores. Now, I'll show you some footage, some screen capture from Bernardo's charity, for example. They've got a lot of retro games and consoles and handhelds for sale at present. You cannot find these on the shop floor, they are online. So for me, retro game hunting it's almost dying in essence, because you cannot go into a charity shop anymore. You cannot really get bargains. It's very few and far between. I'm not saying it's impossible before you get all the little keyboard warriors coming at me in the comment section. It's possible, but it's slim pickings. I myself have been in charity shops and I've found GameCube games for 33 pence previously. Will I find that now? Not a cat in hell's chance will I find that now. Charity shops know what they've got, and they're obviously, it's a business at the end of the day. I get it, I'm not complaining, but for me it kind of takes a little bit of that hobby, a little bit of that passion away, and it's becoming about profit over passion. So charity shops want to make a profit. They don't care about the consumer experience, getting people in, finding these great games and consoles. I think another way that another thing that kind of knocks me, there's a lot of channels out there. I am definitely not one of them. I am definitely about passion over profit. There's notable US YouTube channels that have exploded because they go out on a hunt. They'll buy 5 copies of the same game. Why do you need 5 copies of the exact same game? And then whack them on Amazon, whack them on eBay for a ridiculous profit. So I definitely think, that's killing off a little bit of the hobby as well, because you do get people that are going in, and not so much in the UK. I see it a lot in America. It is, and it just, to each your own. I respect your business model. Do I agree with it? It's definitely not a business model I would want to use. I like to collect and retro game hunt because I love it, because I keep one foot in the 90s and the 80s and the early noughties. For me, it is about pure passion. If I get a double, I'll flog it. I sold, for example, I sold Primal Rage on the SNES recently. Turns out I had it as a double. I sold it for 20 quid because I bought it for 20 quid. You know what I mean? So there's that element of me that's like, you know what, let's get rid of the doubles. Let's perpetuate the passion. So I think there's you've got people that are priced out or think they're priced out, but don't actually bother to look at, they're actually not priced out. Charity shops, there's no consumer experience for retro game hunting in charity shops anymore. Or even like the antique shops, it's few and far between. Retro gaming markets are ridiculously expensive, but you can get a bargain and you don't have to buy things if you don't want to. Me personally, I actually really enjoy seeing expensive games at retro gaming markets. A lot of people see it as a bad thing. Try to flip your mindset around. Don't see it as a bad thing. See it as something that's wow, it's a wow factor. Let's not, we don't see like Mega Man 7 on the Super Nintendo very often. You don't see Snatcher very often. See it, enjoy it. Don't have to pay £450. Move on. You can find bargains. And I think that's where I'm at. My bread and butter was charity shops. I've looked at many charity shop hunts that I've done in the past, and I found flipping good games. You don't get that anymore. That's why on this channel, you'll notice in the 155 retro game hunts that I've done, there's not many charity shop retro game hunts that I've done in the last couple of years, because there's absolutely nothing. And what COVID has done is it's put a lot of things online, because we weren't allowed to go in shops because of lockdowns. And the markup online is so much more expensive. So where does that lead me? The £5 retro game challenge. For those of you that don't know, I used to do a playlist called the CEX £5 retro game challenge, and I used to buy as many retro games as I could for the sum of £5, which is probably just over $6. That playlist is done. It's done because I'm bored of it. It's done because I've had too many doubles, and I think I've purchased every game in there possible for the years that it's been running, and I want to take it into a new direction. I've had many different thoughts on how to do this, and I think what I'm going to do is ask for suggestions in the comments as to what we can do. I'll tell you some of my ideas and it might inspire you. I've thought about buying a copy of FIFA and using that game to trade or sell it, try and make a profit to then put it back into buying more games, and see how far you can take a retro game collection off a copy of FIFA. I thought about using just do trades only rather than selling for any monetary profit, and just do it on trades. How far can you get a game collection via trades alone? Maybe start with a copy of, say, Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers 3. I've had some ideas, and I'm going to work on things in the background, and I'm going to use it in that playlist to demonstrate perhaps how you can push away from all these hardcore resellers. You don't have to have loads of money to start a video game collection or a retro game collection. You can just start with a couple of copies of maybe FIFA, and that might mean you're a bit cheeky from time to time and you use your friends and say, look, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to give me a £5 for this copy of FIFA? Use that £5, put it back into something else. So essentially you are upcycling your video game collections. They're the kinds of things that I've been toying with over the past probably 2 months now, but I want to know what suggestions you can perhaps add. So please give me some ideas. Now, retro gaming for me, I'm never going to give it up. I'm never going to stop retro game hunting. I'm just going to change how I do it. And I'm interested in all the markets we've got coming up. We've got Birmingham Retro Game Market in May. Sarah and I will be in Amsterdam next year. There's some shops that I'm going to be doing abroad. So we're going to be doing different, retro game hunting in CEX over there, in a retro game shop called Game Over in Amsterdam. There's Game Mania. We are going to be hitting it up for 3 days in Amsterdam next month. Birmingham Game Market after that. Then we've got a Leeds Retro Game Market. For me, that's really going to help me get through this year and have a wicked time doing what I love. Buying for passion, playing for passion, not for profit. So I needed to put that out there because it really knocks me that there's so many people going, retro game hunting, sparring, or they've lost the passion. That's fine, that's absolutely great. You ain't getting that here. So we ain't quitting, baby. We're gonna go higher and higher and higher, purely for the passion, purely for the nostalgia. So if you like that, guys, I would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe to this channel. Been very talky. Hopefully I've provoked some thoughts in you. Emulation is also a great way that people can enjoy retro gaming, and emulation is fantastic for preserving the video games. It's like when people find long lost, unreleased video games and they dump the ROMs online for people to enjoy. Not for people to make a profit out of, but for people to enjoy. Emulation definitely has a place, and I enjoy emulation, but my heart is with very much physical media. My heart is with supporting local businesses and perpetuating their passions and their loves, putting food on their table as well. So I love emulation, but I do want my physical media. So retro game hunting all the way for me. Hopefully there'll be more countries. I want to get out to Japan and do Akibara and do all the awesome hot spots over there. I want to go to Canada. I'd like to either go to Canada or Japan. It's probably looking more like Canada this year than Japan, as the rules are a bit harsher to get into Japan. So I'm excited. If you've got any places you think that are really cool in Holland, please let me know, providing they're not too far from Amsterdam. I want to hear from you. But more importantly, guys, enjoy the content and subscribe. I can't stress that enough. I want to take this channel high as possible, and maybe we could be the first retro gaming channel in the UK to pass 100,000 subscribers. Only you can help me do that, and we can achieve it together, because there's nothing that drives me more and keeps me sane than video games. And with that, there's the audience behind it all. So thank you, and enjoy, and I'll see you in the next Retro Game Hunt episode. Toodle pip.